everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order and note the members present. Welcome members of council, members of staff, all the members that we have joining us today in the gallery, including the press, and anybody joining us today on Zoom. We will begin tonight's meeting with a land acknowledgement. We are gathering on the land that has been inhabited by Indigenous people since time immemorial. We would like to recognize that we are in the Robinson Superior Treaty Territory, and the land on which we are gathered today is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe. Specifically, we acknowledge the neighboring community of Nisquehanna First Nation, for whom we have great respect. We also recognize the contributions of all Indigenous people, including the Métis, in shaping and strengthening the community and province of Ontario. Thank you, Miigwech. We will now proceed with our agenda. Item number 2, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Hearing and seeing none, we will move on to item number 3, approval of the agenda. May I please have a mover? Councillor Hatfield. May I have a seconder? Councillor Hodgson. All in favor? Carried. Item number 4, delegations and presentations. 4.1, Ms. Mary Barboshin, Valley Park Bridge. Mary, I invite you up to begin your presentation.
Mayor, Council, members of the public. I'm here on behalf of Friends of the Park, a group I started over 2 years ago. For quite some time now, there's been a need to address the lack of crossing to access Valley Park. When I started this group, the response was overwhelming. Well over 100 people promised material, money, and volunteer hours to facilitate a bridge. We have diligently built a crossing every year out of our own materials, but it's precarious at best and invariably washes away in spring. I use this trail myself with my husband almost daily in the winter for our walk for the day. It's an amazing exercise and stunningly beautiful. We always encounter families with children, people walking their dogs, elderly couples like us walking. We often don't even need our snowshoes because the trail is so packed down from constant use. Winter is not the only season it's enjoyed. It has been used for 4 seasons. There have been numerous repairs undertaken by various local people, citizens. What I feel is recreation is fundamental to a town's well-being. It is always worth repeating that a town is made up of people, and people need things to do. I am in touch with the youth of this town, and many who have moved here talk about a 5-year, 10-year plan. They will stay according to what amenities the town offers. And as far as I'm concerned, we can't afford to keep losing our youth. I have engaged Alex Patterson and a member of the Voyageur Trails Association in this discussion, and they have come up with interesting information and ideas. And there's another in Wawa, Adam Bob, who has experience building bridges. Another citizen in Wawa, Michelle, who's in the audience here, has a bridge that's already built that is engineer approved and could possibly be used. So there's I think there's lots of ways we can explore. We don't have to just think inside the box. We can kind of think outside the box. We are hopeful that a bridge can be added to the capital budget and a plan can be cemented. I'm confident that whatever issues that need to be resolved can be worked out. Thank you for inviting me, Melanie. And I have one more. I just got an email tonight from that I want to read to you. It's from Laura Mitchell, who teaches here in town. Oh. Okay. So she wrote to me, I'll be at the council meeting tonight in support of Valley Park. I had originally planned weeks ago to speak to council, but life threw us some curveballs the past week and I didn't recover in time to request to get on the docket or prepare anything. However, I did want to put it forward that in addition to the general public using the area, the MHS outdoor education program frequently uses the area as well, though access to the space is limited because there's no bridge. As a total coincidence, we tried to go there today as a class, but we're unable to cross because the makeshift bridge was too icy. MHS is not alone in wanting to use the area for its programs. Oh boy, I hate doing this. Other schools as well have historically used it and want to use the space moving forward, but need it to be accessible and safe. MHS Outdoor Ed can help with trail maintenance in the future, as I'm sure others would be willing to as well, including myself on a personal basis. And she thanked me for being the voice of calling this forward. This is something that I think we can do. I think as a town, we can do this. And I think it needs to be put on the budget. And thank you for inviting me. And I'm done. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mary. I really appreciate it. I could ask you to come forward. Anybody who makes a delegation, we do want to offer you a goose pin for coming, and well, we'll do that at the end. But I'll make a few comments, and then I'll open up comments and questions to the members of council. So as Mary suggested for delegation, I did reach out to Mary, as I did know that she was very passionate about Valley Park. And she dedicated numerous hours and much of her personal time into recruiting volunteers and spending time. So I wanted to be very open and transparent about me reaching out to both Mary and Laura. As I have been very transparent, Valley Park is very important to me, and certainly engaging with members of the community with regards to this special project. So thank you and much for that. Councillor, are there any questions or comments? Councillor Hoffman, did you have any questions or comments? Councillor Cannon, this issue was brought up at your request. Do you have any questions or comments?
Not at this time. I'll wait until Alex gets it.
If you want to, I'm just going to remind you to use yours. Councillor Hoffman?
I have one question. Michelle, you said you have a bridge that you can use?
I think at this point, if you want to address comments to Mary.
I can't hear you. Can I just repeat it for him? She says you have a bridge. Could you explain that to her? Or you have a bridge?
Well,
You have a bridge.
Mary, or did you want to
Use the mic.
so
Make sure she
How
uses the
long is
mic.
it?
Turn it on for Alex.
20 feet long?
I think it's on. Is it still on?
Put cap in.
What Michelle told me is that he has a bridge that's engineer approved. He built two. It's what he does. It's part of what he does. And he has one that's already been used somewhere. And he has another one, and no one's using it, and it has already been approved. So that's what, as far as I know, that's all I know.
So again, thank you very much for your presentation, Mary. I absolutely am in alignment. Innovative solutions is absolutely where we need to go. podcast is a great metaphor for building bridges between municipal government and the citizens and stakeholders in which we serve. So thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your presentation. You're more than welcome to stay to hear the upcoming memo that's going to be presented by Alex Patterson regarding the Valley Bridge, or you're more than welcome to speak out. But council will continue on with its business.
Thank you.
Mayor, did you want your pin? I'm sorry? Did you want your pin? You don't need to have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will now move on to item number 5, adoption of minutes. 5.1, meeting of the whole Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. May I have somebody make a motion to approve? Councillor Hoffman, may I have a seconder? Councillor Hatfield, all in favor? Carried. Item number 6, business arising out of previous meeting. 6.1, Alex Patterson memo, Valley Park Bridge. The floor is yours, Alex.
Thank you, Mayor. So, I dug out a report from 2021, and I owe council and Pat Buchanan in particular an apology. This report did not ever go to council. So this was a report that was fully said and done. It was submitted, a variety of things happened. And in 2021, this just never made it onto the agenda, but it made it into everywhere else. So we don't have an official report number, so I will go through the report in its entirety to make sure that everybody does understand and have the opportunity to answer questions. So I'll go through the report first, and then I'm going to skip back up to the memo, which is essentially an update, which brings it from 2021 to now. So in 2021, this issue was brought before council. Staff committed to reporting back to council on a variety of issues that were involved in the Valley Park Trail system and bridge. And we narrowed those down to 5 things. And those 5 things were property lines and the amount of different properties back there, some trail design issues, the insurance requirements, some liability concerns, and then some engineering requirements. So in order of that, you can see by the map attached that there are a variety of property lines there. It was an initial concern that, I'll be honest, I'm much less concerned about now, because if the Voyageur Trail Association integrates it into the Voyageur Trail proper, then those access concerns are no longer the municipalities and they are the VTAs. And the VTA does have a process in place for dealing with landowners and dealing with all of these issues, and we deal with them in a variety of ways as well. For example, at Scenic High Falls, there's a section of Voyageur Trail there that has caused nobody any issues. Some trail design issues included in Valley Park, going over some of the principles of trail design and where liability comes into play, where the first obstacle of any trail is considered a barrier obstacle, and so it should be representative of the rest of the trail. So in Valley Park's case, you cross a bridge and then immediately you hit a set of stairs on the traditional route. Now, those set of stairs imply a level of care throughout the trail that doesn't exist when you get further back towards Anderson Lake. So those are the types of issues that, again, would be more the Voyageur Trail's concern if they're willing to take it over, but a chunk of that does come onto municipal property. And as we've experienced in the past, at the end of the day, when there's an issue, everybody gets sued, and that would include the municipality, and we would have to defend why these things exist on our property, when we know there's issues there. However, there's a really easy way to reroute the trail. I've walked the reroute several times myself. I hold certifications in trail design and trail building, and there is some really easy ways around that we have community volunteers, including myself, who are willing to do some of that work to erase that issue. Some insurance requirements, again, it really has to do with the insurance and the liability of providing access to a place that we don't feel is safe. A lot of those, again, are taken care of if this is integrated into the Voyageur Trail system, because, again, just like Scenic High Falls, if anything were to happen on that trail, then it would be up to the Voyageur Trail to defend their trail versus up to the municipality. So a lot of what this report and the concerns of it came down to was, can we work with the Voyageur Trail Association to reintegrate this trail into the VTA, because it was a trail of theirs in the past. And if we can do that, then it solves a lot of our concerns and we can move forward. So one of the things that we did as staff is we connected Mary and her group of volunteers with the Voyageur Trail Association. So as staff, we facilitated a meeting between Andy Stevens and Mary about getting volunteers onto the Voyageur Trail Association to try and help out with the Voyageur Trail's real lack of capacity, because for a very long time, it was essentially just you, Mr. Stevens. So we were trying to connect the Voyageur Trail Association with the volunteers to make Valley Park a reality. And as you can see here, everybody's in the same room. Some of that has happened in that 2 years. And then,
Be closer to the mic.
sorry. And then the last consideration is the engineering requirements of a bridge. So previously, that bridge was an old trailer that we cut in half and just put there. And that was totally fine at the time. But when our engineer inspected it just before it washed out, when we were having some concerns with it, he stated to us that it was totally unacceptable to just put whatever you want there, because it is a span that has a length of over 10 meters. And because it is owned by the municipality, it falls under all of the same regulations that our current bridges do. Now, municipalities do bridges. That is not impossible, right? It is a pedestrian bridge. It needs to be subject to a 2-year inspection, just like any of the rest of our bridges. But at the end of the day, it's something that is very doable from our perspective, because it can be integrated into the schedule of other bridge inspections. So I think that is pretty well the gist of it. So at the end of the day, the staff recommendation is that we work with volunteers and the Voyageur Trail Association to solve some of the issues in here, which I feel like we're relatively close to solving. And once those issues are solved, we can look at installing a new bridge. Now, in terms of financially, it was mentioned that the bridge should be part of the capital budget. It is part of the capital budget in future years under subject to funding, and that's the prioritization that we've given it as staff. So we have looked into funding. We've looked into a variety of different models. I will certainly commit to going out and visiting Mr. Poulet and seeing what we have to offer there. And potentially what that would look like to place a bridge that we already have in the community, which would come at a much lower cost than something, pre-engineered or pre-designed. As indicated, we've looked at things like culverts as well, and we found that the culverts actually came at a higher cost estimate than the pedestrian bridge that we had looked into previously. However, there's still more to do. And then finally, I will say that the Trans-Canada Trail has a new capital stream that's come out that has been much more significant in the opportunity for funding than there's been traditionally. So traditionally from Trans-Canada Trail, we've seen opportunities from $1,000 to $5,000, which doesn't come close to funding what we're looking for. But they've now come out with a $25,000 and a $50,000 grant for trail systems. And again, the Voyageur Trail is part of the Trans-Canada Trail, so they are already registered. So we have the opportunity to work with to make this happen. So it is under the subject of funding. Council does have every opportunity to reprioritize those things. It doesn't have to be subject to funding. It could be funded. However, the staff recommendation is to keep it in the capital budget as subject to funding and have staff continue to work on a solution.
Thank you very much, Alex. I appreciate the report. I'll open the floor to questions and comments from council. Councilor Hoffman? Councilor Cannon?
So you're not quite there yet with working through the issues. Is that what I'm getting?
I would say yes. I think what really gets us there is having the Voyageur Trail Association fully on board with taking over that trail, and that solves the majority of the issues, minus funding the bridge. But we are close. We have made progress in the last couple of years.
Okay, then I would wait. I would like to wait until we get your final report and see what the outcome is before I make my decision.
I think at this point, Councillor Cannon, I think the question is whether or not council is in agreement with keeping it as subject to funding in future years, in 2026, 2027. So
I'm not quite ready to say that yet, so.
Councillor Hatfield?
I'm still a little confused, so bear with me. Mr. Poulet has a bridge, it's all certified and everything, it's only 20 feet long, only 31, so you have a problem there, right? You are saying the wires your tail is gonna take it over, maybe, maybe not. Like, I'm confused, are they gonna take it over or aren't they? Mr. Poulet's bridge doesn't fit or does it? So, somebody has to answer me?
So, I need to go look at Mr. Coleman's bridge. I'm not sure. I learned about it last week, and so it is an option that we're looking into. That bridge also has to be looked at, because having a bridge is great, but you need to have some type of footing to put on it. The last bridge, the bridge was fine, although it was not an engineered bridge, but the footings washed out, right? So there is more to it than just having a bridge, but none of those things are insurmountable. They just need work. They need, a staff member to take a look at that.
I hope the group that came, I'm really happy you came, because I don't know a whole lot about Valley Park anymore. But, is it okay with you guys if we just get a little bit more reports back? Exactly what we need and what the cost will, only then can I make a decision on how it should go forward.
Okay, so if I have the chance to go speak to Mr. Poulet, and take a look at that bridge, I've already investigated the Trans-Canada Trail funding, so I could have a report back to council in a December, January timeframe based on some engineering. So I could say I could report back to council in December or January.
I think, if I may though, and I'll ask Maury to be honest with our timelines. We were looking for this report, because we are looking to make, and approve our capital budget for January, and February.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. That is correct. And there are some options. We were looking for council to approve the capital budget, the long-term capital budget in principle before the end of the year. It is in principle because we are going to present the operating budget to council at the end of the month, November 27th, and then use the month of December for public comment and input into the budget. So the budget as a final approved capital operating wouldn't be until early January. So I will work with Alex, the department head, to make sure we do what we can to get this report to council in December. Our next meeting of council in December is December 12th. And then pending, if we can get that report to council for December 12th, council may have enough information. So at its next meeting in January, it can either do one of two things as some options for council. One, have a separate resolution separated out of the recommended capital budget and operating budget to council, a separated out resolution saying to remove or remain in the capital budget, or just the resolution accepting the budget, because it is in the budget as a project, if that is a good response for you.
Certainly, a consideration. One thing that I will urge council to consider is, because this is a consideration that falls into future years of the capital budget, and it is subject to funding only. There is no funding that is earmarked for it. And I think it's really important to look at the significant community backing that we have in the audience today and recognize the support that is associated with this. This does not have any immediate impacts to our budget. And what the people of our community are asking for is that they would like this to be supported by council. And I'm seeing nodding heads. And they are looking for your support today. This is a political decision, not a financial decision. Councilor Hoffman?
You said that there's an alternate route that I'm on.
Some people can't hear, so if you could speak closer to the mic.
you said there's an
alternate route. And does this require a bridge, and how close is it to the,
No, it's just an alternate route to bypass the stairs and some of the older built infrastructure in the park that has failed. So it's really more of a thing that would be on the Voyager Trail Association's radar to change that route to get away from broken infrastructure. There's not that many resources in the community. I don't really know of anybody else who holds like a trail design certificate. So I've offered to redesign that myself as a volunteer separate from the municipality. However, it is a municipal consideration when we provide access to places that we know are, unsafe or liable.
Okay. Councillor Cannon?
Like I said, I'm not saying no to this, but I need more information before I can say yes to keep it in the capital budget and go forward. I need a little bit more information. And even if it's on the bridge or a different trail, like you said, or if the other one is going to take over this trail, I'd like to wait for that.
So with that, Maury, I'll just ask Maury if there's anything, there's no direction that we can give today. Or what direction are you looking for today?
I think I'm hearing consensus from council, Mayor. So what I would recommend to you and council is to perhaps just from a show of hands, if a resolution is required, we could add it on the regular. But I think I hear council indicating its full support for staff to continue to investigate and research, and that council is generally behind that. You are directing staff to continue to work with the volunteers and the organizations involved to continue to research the effort. So I think just a nod of heads, Mayor, if you would agree that we hear from council that we continue to see if there's a reasonable solution and continue to work on it.
I believe that I'm in alignment with that summary. I think that's good. Is there any objection to Maury's summary?
no?
So we will proceed with that, and Alex can continue to work with the Friends of Valley Park and the Voyager Trail Association.
I think for us as staff, it's clear that this is a priority. So we have been working on it in the background alongside several other projects over the last couple of years, but seeing the community members here, seeing what council's looking for, we'll do our best efforts as a department to get back to council in short order with how we can move forward, because we do not want to delay the capital budget process. And certainly if there is opportunities for funding, just like many other projects of ours, that can change things on the priority list based on what funding is or is not available at the time.
Great. Thank you very much, Alex.
I have a comment to make.
Councillor Hatfield, did you have a question or comment?
I see some people in the audience thinking, what are we doing here? I think it's wonderful that you came here and opened up exactly what you wanted and what is needed. Now, I worry about a little bit about the insurance. I don't know how the trails are up there. Alex, you said they were not bad. Are the stairs good? Like the liability and the cost of doing all this is just not $10,000 or $20,000. So once we get the final report, I mean, I'd love to see Valley Park opened again. I used to walk there a lot, but I haven't in a long time. But we are very concerned, and we will look into it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hatfield. We will now move on to our new. You could remind the audience if they want to go now. Again, we will be proceeding with our meeting, so feel free to stay. We would love that, but you're more than welcome to leave. And thank you very much for your support. Thank you. Have a good evening. You as well.
There are no monthly reports, so we will now move on to number 8, new business. 8.1, third quarter financial report. Manuela, the floor is yours.
Good evening, thank you. So just a quick review of where we are as of the end of September. So taxation and school boards, obviously, we're right where we should be. Everything has gone out. Everything has been billed and we're right within the budget. We've exceeded our budget in administration, mostly due to our investment income. So we've done very well with our investments. And I believe in October, we exceeded our goal. So, which isn't part of this report, but I believe we have still in October, November, and December, approximately 90,000 to come in investments. That was a good thing for us this year. The building department's revenues are a little bit below the budgeted amount as of September, but as of the end of October, it's almost exactly where it needs to be. The police services board, the lack of revenue is related to the timing of the grant, so this should show up in the fourth quarter. Infrastructure, the variance is due to the timing as revenue is related to special initiatives such as the solar revenue and the hazardous waste don't come until the fourth quarter. And airport, absolutely no concern here as the revenues are expected to exceed the budgeted amount, and I believe they did as well in October. Transit, so this was a first time I think that we realized the revenue that we expected from the transit fares. We have a small amount budgeted there, and we did actually realize it this year. And there's another adjustment coming as part of the year-end process for the grant money. Special initiatives, sorry, this is the hazardous waste day. It did happen, I believe, in September, and it was not as successful as previous years. Could have been just the weekend, people away, we really don't know. Water and sewer, the variance is due to the timing of the billing cycle, where the last billing cycle hasn't occurred yet. And Mishpah Cotton Memorial Community Center, there is no concerns in this area, mostly because skating, hockey, all those things, curling are just starting up again, and that revenue should come in the fourth quarter. Parks and tourism, 12,000 of this income is not expected to be earned in 2023 due to the timing of certain funding. So there's still a little bit of funding to come in there that we haven't gotten yet. As far as expenditures go, taxation is part of the vesting process. 62,000 of tax arrears interest and penalties were written off. This is a normal occurrence for this process, and the remaining variances due to the requests for considerations in 357s, some of which we have tonight. So I think we've had them 2 or 3 times this year. So it's a normal process that all municipalities go through. The variance in administration is constant throughout the year and is primarily due to the timing of the transfer of reserves and capital funds. That happens usually towards the end of the years as we wrap up the projects and finalize all our reporting on that. The fire department, their variance is due to the honorarium, which happens once a year in November. Infrastructure, the fourth quarter will include snow removal and heating costs, so we're expecting those expenditures to increase quite a bit still. Airport, the aviation fuel purchases are higher than the annual budget. However, they were offset by the revenue from the sale of that same fuel. So right now they're in a surplus of approximately $180,000. So the loss of, or the increased purchases aren't a concern. Landfill, the variance is due to the timing of reserve transfers as well. And special initiatives, variance is fully due to the timing of events. Water and wastewater, again, the variance is due to the timing of the reserve and capital fund transfers. So as we close off projects and record those entries, this will come into line. Cemetery, the cost in this department typically occurs in the second and third quarter, and it's reasonably will have very little costs in the next quarter. So most of these costs are ground maintenance and just those types of things that happen in the summer. Assistance to seniors. So the additional expenses were offset by a special grant, and it resulted in a net income for that program of $1,350. So by the end of the year, we'll have to return that $1,350 to the ministry. However, I did get some new invoices in from the seniors just in the last week, so I'm hoping that I can use up most of that money and we'll break even. The parks, the department includes the outdoor parks and marina, and most of the costs there occur in the summer months. So some of the projects that we completed were the water treatment plant filters, the water filters. We purchased the new SUV. I don't know if you've seen it, but I think it's going to be very cost efficient. It's quite a bit smaller. I think it'll be great on fuel and a lot better for Rebecca than driving around in a big truck. The community risk assessment occurred, and I think we're waiting on the fire service delivery review. The building condition assessments are done. The landfill has a roll-off truck. The diesel engine for the compactor has been replaced, and the mini excavator, I think, is here and working. So projects which have started and will continue into 2024 are the fire hydrant rehabilitation. I don't know if anybody's seen what the hydrants look like after they're rehabilitated, but they look really, really good. I can only talk to the aesthetics. I don't know much about the operations of a fire hydrant, but I'm sure they work better as well. The municipal software update, where we're well into that project, and it'll continue into 2024, and we should be up and running by 2025. The water intake project is also started, and there's been, I think, a fair bit of engineering and some other work there. The cemetery expansion has got a good start, and it will be ongoing. And the sidewalk and pavement rehabilitation preservation is something that we've been doing for a long time and have a plan to continue doing. And that's it. That's it for that report.
Thank you very much, Manuela. I appreciate your report. Thank you. Is there any questions, comments from council? Councillor Cannon?
One question. You say animal control. What do we have animal control?
So in the past, we had a dog catcher. We still have the facility. So we still have some responsibilities around that facility in case we use it in the future. So we still pay a small amount of insurance there. The hydro is on for water. I think occasionally some animals do end up there for a short time if they're in need until we can find help for them.
Okay.
Seeing no other questions, we will move on. Thank you. Item point 8.2, an email from Mayor Cheryl Fort from the Township of Horn-Payne regarding EMS Algoma. And there's also an addition of the response from myself regarding EMS and ADSUB services. So this is a very important issue that affects the municipality of Wawa greatly regarding EMS services in the community. I am the ADSUB board member that represents the municipality of Wawa, and Mayor Cheryl Fort is the ADSUB representative from Horn-Payne, White River, and the community of Dubreuilville. It has been brought to our attention that that there's numerous concerns regarding the EMS services that the municipality receives. Cheryl has been having conversations with ADSUB's CAO, Keith Bell, about requesting a service delivery review. I have also brought that request to Keith about having Wawa participate in the service delivery review as well. Regarding EMS ambulance services, I've also requested that the service delivery review be extended to other services that ADSUB provides, including client services, which is the Ontario Works Office, housing and children's services as well. All of these, the Wawa office that everybody will know, which is located on Broadway Avenue, services the entire northeast region, so the communities of Dubreuilville, Horn-Payne, and White River. And it is my understanding, after having numerous conversations with people in the community, that services are not up to par. And we definitely believe that they can be improved, but the best way to go about this is to undergo this delivery review. So with the support of council, we would like to pass a formal resolution at a future meeting date that I will bring to the ADSUB board. And I will continue to have these conversations with the support of Mayor Fort. And I believe that it's a very important step into improving our services. Is there any questions or comments regarding that? No questions. Councillor Hatfield?
Yeah, Jim explained to us one night just how bad it was and how many people there was. So you weren't here, so we do know a little bit about it.
About the lack of ambulances? Yeah.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So certainly, I'm happy to answer any questions as the ADSEP representative, but any other questions? So hopefully I have support that we can put that resolution on a future meeting date. Okay, perfect. So with that said, we will move on to item number 8.3, Electric Transit Initiative Update. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Pilon. So just to summarize the letter, on March 31st, we came to council noting that on the strategic plan, it indicates that we were looking to move towards an electric transit vehicle that's more like a van, considering how our current transit system is used. So I went ahead and we got some quotes, and then using those quotes, went ahead and applied for the RTSF funding, and we got approved. So the municipality is required to cover 80% of the fully electric system. That includes coverage for this charging station and the van, which comes already fully equipped with the electrical lift. So that means out of the 100% total, the 20% that we pay is $41,000 to get this delivered, which I think is a really great deal considering. So we're hoping that council will accept the resolution to move forward and I guess go into the agreement with the RTSF. And that you support us in doing that so we can take next steps, put out RFPs and get a van.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Is there any questions, comments from council? Councillor Hoffman, your thoughts? Awesome. Councillor Cannon?
Thank you.
Councillor Hatfield? Excellent. So looks like council is aligned, Rebecca. Look forward to seeing that on a regular agenda. Pardon? Perfect. So we will move on now to item 8.5, CAO memo. Oh, sorry, I skipped one. Avoyant alert notification system.
Thank you, Mayor. And this memo was prepared by Anders Dresky, our GIS IT technician. And he successfully passed 4 courses recently that certify him now as a community emergency management coordinator. So he will be acting as the alternate. And on tonight's agenda, we're asking council to, by bylaw, approve that appointment. So we're very proud of Anders for stepping up to act as the alternate and obtaining his designation. Now, in our training, one of the subjects are how does the municipality inform its residents if there is ever an emergency? And we go through a number of scenarios that include, what if there's no power? What if people can't use their phones, or how do we communicate? But having said that, some time ago, staff had asked me as a group of managers to consider asking council to set aside money in every operating budget year to purchase an emergency alert notification system. So there's many types of these emergency systems. What comes to mind, I'm sure, as I describe this, is the Ontario Emergency Alert System. So when there's an emergency, you get on your phone, the beeping, the notice. Well, this would be one that would be controlled by the municipality, that we can, by residents signing up and choosing the types of alerts they want to receive, would become part of a municipal system. Now, this system would notify residents by their choice, whether they choose phone. It can be a cell phone, a regular dial phone. It can be an email. It can be a text. So the residents who sign up to participate in this can choose how they want to be contacted. And then they also get to choose from a list that we will create in time. Obviously, the emergency notification alert is very important to staff as a way to communicate, but also we can say, this road is being closed, this period of time for repairs. Beware. We can send out notices of a very general nature. Please come out and have hot chocolate with mayor and council in December. We can say, hey, our municipal newsletter's been released. So those are just broad examples to demonstrate to council that the residents get to choose what type of alerts, and some of these alerts will be informational, will be notices of work going on in the community. To do the Voyant alert system, we've talked to many municipalities and reviewed the systems available, and Anders headed this up and he's recommending the Voyant alert. So in front of council is basically our request to support the implementation of the Voyant notification alert system beginning in January 2024, and that funding be included in the 24 and 25 municipal operating budgets. So a 2-year period, so we can review if this works for municipality. And the subscription for year 1 is $2,900 plus tax. It'll be included in the operating budget. And we have asked around if there are increases, which usually there aren't in the first couple of years. They've been very modest. So I hope council will support that in a future resolution.
Thank you very much, Maury. Is there any questions, comments from council?
Sounds good.
I have a quick question there. Maury, how are we going to reach the older generation? Like, I don't, they don't quite understand. I know I walk with a lady that says she doesn't know anything that goes on, but she does like her phone. And like, how are you going to get out to the older generation, because we don't have newspapers or they're not on online?
Yes, thank you. We're going to make a concerted public education and marketing effort when we launch this. And so we'll attend at trade shows, we'll go to the senior center, the Legion. So we'll go to a variety of events to really target the group of residents you're referring to. I mean, they can choose to use a dial-up phone to receive a notification. So there's lots of methods. And we'll make every effort to make sure that every resident is aware. So if you have other suggestions as you speak to people and have recommendations for how we can make sure they sign up, please pass it on to staff and we'll make every effort.
Thank you. Councillor Cannon?
I just think it's a really good idea. We need some sort of system that everybody can be informed, whether by your cell phone, email, and especially by phone.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
Perfect. So it seems like council is aligned with this proposal. We look forward to seeing it on a future council agenda. 8.5 CAO memo volunteer firefighter agenda or training.
Thank you, Mayor. And on behalf of the members of the Wawa Volunteer Fire Department and the Wawa Fire Review Committee, Councillors Cannon and Hoffman, the matter of the travel policy was reviewed at a recent meeting, and a recommendation made to ask council to consider adding a new clause or a new section within its current travel policy to provide for a loss of wages clause. To cover any firefighter who incurs a loss of their wages when traveling on fire department business, attending required training, because there are some volunteer members who do not get covered by their employers or paid by employers when they attend out of town training or have to be away from work. So this clause or addition to the policy would make sure that for any members of the Wawa Volunteer Fire Department who provide proof, they must provide written proof from their employer that they've lost regular wages. The wages may be claimed up to a maximum of $250 per day, and it would be approved by the fire chief as he approves the travel of all firefighters. And if we add this to the November 21st regular meeting, I know you would have a volunteer fire department that would be very pleased that council would consider doing so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maury. Is there any comments, questions from council?
We're in favor.
I believe that council is aligned with your proposal. Thank you very much. We will move on to 8.6, Ontario Provincial Police new detachment. Manuela, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. This has been a long-awaited report. So I guess last year, or maybe a little bit longer, the OPP came to us because they wanted a new. They were looking for a place to build a new detachment. So there's three options. We've spoken with OPP Facilities, Ontario Provincial Police Facilities, and Infrastructure Ontario. And the three options that we're looking at are land contribution from the municipality. The second option is the municipality keeping the land and building a base building, owning that building. The third possibility is for the municipality to keep the land, build a turnkey building. In options 2 and 3, the municipality has an option or an ability to lease the building on some very specific criteria. So in preparing the numbers in this report, I got as much information as I could and verified it. So we estimated the land clearing had to be an estimate. So we estimated that at $350,000. That includes building an entranceway, clearing the land, obtaining permits from the MTO, providing water and sewer services, and a few other small items. Information that we looked at that we needed to determine the numbers, the square footage of the facility. So OPP Facilities is telling us 22,874 square feet is what's required. The construction costs, the leasehold improvement costs, the provincial and municipal portions, the lease structure, the northern contingency, and the borrowing rates all came from Infrastructure Ontario. And I have emails or letters to confirm all of these. The annual repayment limit comes from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and I think I included an attachment that explains what that is and how it plays into this. So basically what it is, it's the amount of money that we're allowed to borrow and the ceiling of what we're allowed to owe in any given time. So this isn't what we're allowed to owe, it's what we're allowed to pay back. So in any given year, our payments of debts should not exceed more than $2.6 million, or approximately $2.6 million based on our 22 financial return. So it changes every year, but based on our most recent financial return, it's $2,601,000. That includes any payments we already have. So in preparing the calculations, I had to make some assumptions. So insurance, water and sewer, hydro expenses were estimated at the same rate as the town hall building, because this building's used every day, it's occupied, we have to warm it, we use the water, and it's a fairly large building. So the assessment was calculated at 5%, pardon me, of the cost of the base building, because leasehold improvements would not be considered part of the assessment by MPAC. And it was a comparable percentage with other properties that have been built in the last 5 years, sorry. So wages, if we were to do a turnkey or base building, we would be responsible for that building and the maintenance of it on a daily basis. We do not have the capacity today to do that, so we would have to hire someone to do that. So we base the wages on just a laborer's position, which is on the lower end of the scale of wages in infrastructure. And it includes also their health benefits, dental benefits, WSIB, all our employer pension, OMERS, any of the responsibilities we have around payroll. Facility maintenance contracts, those would include such things as the HVAC contracts, fire and safety inspections that we can't do internally. So fair market value, the lease, if we were to enter into a lease, we can set a fair market value. So in order to determine that, I researched Sault Ste. Marie, because we don't have a lot of commercial leases in Wawa per se. So I found leases that varied from $10 to $24, and I averaged them for the lease cost. I think was $14.17. It was the fair market value. So the operating expenses, because we can also get back a portion of the operating expenses each year, the provincial portion, which is the 85.28%. I included the wages, the insurance, the hydro, heat, water and sewer, facilities maintenance contracts, which are like the HVAC contracts, repairs and maintenance, and property taxes. And I confirmed those with OPP Facilities. So then some of the considerations, I just made it into a chart with kind of a yes, no to give you an idea of who is responsible for what and what we'd have to do. So to bring services to the property under the first option of donating land, we have to bring services to the property itself, but not onto the property. The base building and turnkey, obviously we would have to. Building costs, in donating the land, we have absolutely zero building costs. In the base building and turnkey, those costs would be ours. Maintaining borrowing power, if we were to donate the land, it wouldn't affect our borrowing power at all. If we did the base building, we would lose 46% of our borrowing power. So if we had to borrow money, if we had a big emergency, say at the water tower or any other big event that occurred where we had to borrow a lot of money, that would impact our ability to do so. If we did the turnkey building, we would have absolutely no money left to borrow. So it would absolutely impact it. Asset management obligations, if we donate the land, it would be very minimal. It would just be that small inventory of land would come off of our inventory. If we did the base building, it would be approximately a $12 million increase on day one to our asset management obligations. And if we did the turnkey, over 20 million. Impact on staffing, if we did donate the land, it would be minor. If we did the base building, it would be a major impact. They would have quite a bit to do around that building. And if we did the turnkey, that need to service that building would increase. So responsibility, if we donated the land, all the responsibility stays with the province for all like facility operating costs, financing, and building upgrades. So we would have no responsibility other than surveying the land and making sure the transfer occurred. In the base building and turnkey, we would become responsible for everything over the life of the building. Revenue, property taxes, we would receive in all three scenarios. Lease, we would not receive a lease if we donated the land, but we would if we did either of the two building scenarios. And water and sewer, we would receive that revenue in all three scenarios. Operating costs under expenses, we would have no expenses if we donated the land, and we would have all expenses under either of the building scenarios. So operating costs, insurance, financing, and facilities. I'm not going to go through each of the numbers, but I'll give you the totals. So under donating the land, we're estimating a total revenue of property taxes and water sewer annually of about $40,000 a year. Under the base building, $526,416. And under the turnkey option, $960,738. There would be no expenses under donating the land option. And this is assuming, I had to make assumptions as to how long it would take us to pay back. So obviously the quicker we could pay back, the sooner we could start recovering some money. So I did a 10-year and a 20-year scenario because I think there's a need for a 20-year. It's impossible to do some things over 10. So over the 10 years, obviously there's no costs in donating the land, and we would have a net revenue of $40,000. Under the base building option, estimated operating expenses are $245,000, and the financing is almost $1.2 million. So the total expense, $1.4 million, and the net loss is $919,000. So we would have to increase taxes by $919,000 in order to pay that bill. For a turnkey building, I put the numbers here just so council could see it. It would result in a $1.9 million loss. We cannot do it because it exceeds our repayment limit with Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. So that 2.601, it exceeds it. So we cannot do it there. Under the 20 years, so I did 20 years because I thought, well, maybe we can do the turnkey over 20 years. So the operating expenses remain the same. It doesn't matter how long it takes us to pay back. The operating expenses are the same. Financing, however, decreased for the base building to $765,000 for a net loss of $484,000 each year. And over 20 years, with a financing cost of $1.6 million, which would be allowed under the repayment limit, our loss would be $1.9 million a year for a net loss after considering the lease of $980,000 each year for 20 years. So WAWA's long-term financial plan recommends an increase of 3% annually. So for this scenario, I did, we calculated what the tax levies would be or what the increase to taxes would be with a 0% increase to our operating. So no capital, no increased hydro costs, no increased fuel costs, no increased wages, no increase, just leave it at the 5.2 million that it was in 2023 and incorporate building this building. So under the 5.12% interest rate over 10 years, to donate the land would cost us 0%. The base building, 17.33% increase in property taxes, and the turnkey, which we know we can't do, would have been 36.91% increase in taxes. Under scenario 2, the 5.36% interest rate over 20 years, 0% to donate the land, 9.04% increase to taxes in the base building, 18.51% increase to taxes in the turnkey building. And if you did that same scenario in dollars, it would be $919,000 in over the 10 years, or $484,000 in increased property taxes over 20 years for the base building. And for the turnkey building, the increased property taxes would be 1.9 million for the 10-year scenario and 980,000 over the 20-year scenario. So what are the options? Option 1 is to donate the land or contribute the land. So we can donate it, we can sell it at a reduced cost. Probably somewhere in between would be the best. I think a survey would cost somewhere between 10 and 20,000. You'd want to at least recover that, and probably some other costs that might relate to the entranceway. Option 2, construct a base building. The municipality would designate land and construct the 22,874 square foot building, base building, at an estimated cost of 9.3, almost 9.4 million. The province would then lease the building for an agreed upon term and rental rate. So again, I did talk to IO, and that's where my numbers came from. It has to be a fair market value rent and a portion of the operating costs. Revenue consists of, well, right there, fair market value, lease of the province, and actually in this case, it's not the there's a third component. Sorry, the leasehold improvements do not play into option 2 because the leasehold would be built by the province. So there would be no recovery of leasehold improvements.
We lost what we were looking at on the screen here, and that might affect Zoom as well.
Oh, I think I tapped something. Sorry, we might still be there. There we go. Sorry, I'm just going to take a drink. So under option 2, the province would build the leasehold improvements, so the interior of the building. There would be no recovery because it wouldn't be our cost. That would reduce the amount of lease that you would get as revenue every year. So as an example, I just took $190,000 of assessment. To be honest, that's probably a typical house on Superior, to see what would happen to their taxes. So in 2023, they paid approximately $5,100. Under this scenario in 2024, the taxes would increase to almost $6,000, just $20 short of $6,000. And by 2033, their taxes would increase to $7,800. Under the 20-year loan, for this same scenario, that same house would increase in 2024 to $5,555, and in 2033, 10 years down the road, to $7,200. Under option 3, which is the turnkey facility, the municipality designates land and constructs the 22,874 square foot building and the leasehold improvements at a cost of just under $21 million. So under this scenario, there's 3 portions to the lease. So the province leases the portion of the building equal to the provincial policing component for the fair market value of the lease. So that was that ratio that I did, or that average of the 6 properties that I found in Sault Ste. Marie. The leasehold improvements can be amortized over 10 years. So what that means, Infrastructure Ontario gave me a price of 4.3 million for the leasehold improvements. If we amortize it over 10 years, it means we can take 434,000 of that 4.3 million and have it paid back to us each year over 10 years. And the provincial portion of the operating costs, which if you remember earlier was about 285,000. So it still resulted in a net loss each year. So that same $190,000 assessed house would be again in 2023, 5,100, in 2024, just under 7,000, and in 2023, $9,100 in property taxes. And that's just to do the detachment. That's not doing anything in the town differently than what we did this year. So no increases. So I'm losing track. So under this scenario, summaries and considerations, I just did a quick what would happen. So donating the land, in 10 years, we would earn $403,000 in revenue. Under option 2, the base building, we would lose $4.8 million in revenue. And on option number 3, building a turnkey building, we would lose $9.8 million in revenue. In year 11, we would earn $280,000 in revenue if we built the buildings. So under base building, it would take us an additional 17 years to earn back what we lost. And under building a turnkey, it would take us an additional 34 years to earn back what we lost. So in order to break even under the turnkey, it would take 45 years, and under the base building, 27 years. In scenario 2, which is amortizing that loan over 20 years, making the payments a little less, we would earn $806,000 by donating the land. We would lose $9.6 million on the base building and $23.9 million on the turnkey building. Again, with that same amount of income after year 11 and on, it would take us 34 years to earn back our loss under the base building and 85 years to earn back the loss under the turnkey building. So in addition to the financial analysis, staff gave considerations to things like stakeholders, capacity, impacts, population, and demographics. So we thought about things like, if we don't build the detachment, what will happen? Well, the province will build it. If we don't build this detachment, we will still have policing in our community, so it won't affect that. Will the residents and taxpayers on a fixed income have the capacity to pay the required increases? Never mind people that are working. What about people that are pensioners or on disability? Can they absorb those increased taxes? What's the impact of uncollectible taxes on the levy? So this isn't the only thing that affects our levy. There's things in our day-to-day operations that will affect our levy that we have to be concerned about. The impact to our own operations. So we currently do not have enough capacity to assume the responsibility of this facility. I've already said we'd have to hire somebody else. Willingness to reduce levels of service in the community. So if we did this, we would most likely have to reduce levels of services in the community to meet future needs of this facility. So are we willing to do that? Future costs to replace and rehabilitate the major components of the building. Those future costs would be ours. If something happened to the HVAC, if the windows needed to be changed, we would have to deal with that, not the province. How much should the ability of future councils be limited by the actions of this council? So if we decided to move forward with the building of this building, how much would it tie the hands of the next councils? If it's 30 years, that's a lot of councils that wouldn't be able to do anything. Reassessment. Reassessment's going to happen in the next few years. We haven't had a reassessment since 2016. That's going to impact taxes, and it's going to impact who pays what. So we have no control over that, and that's a big question mark. The annual repayment limit, that $2.6 million, that's supposed to be our own source revenue. So revenue that we earn, revenue from our taxes, revenue from our water and sewer revenues are supposed to make up the formula that determines that. That $2.3 million hydro dam money, is part of this calculation as per MMAH. If we were to lose that money, it would drastically impact our ability to pay. The 20-year scenario is too big of a risk. I think that's not even an option to look at 20 years. It's hard enough trying to think 4 years in advance, never mind 20. Turnkey after 10 years, we lose 434,000 of the leasehold improvement income. So that's a big chunk of income to lose on a project where you're already losing money. So lease terms are typically 5 years with 2 5-year renewals. So in the 20-year scenario, you have no guarantees for years 16 to 20. How will the provincial portion impact our neighboring communities? So they also have a provincial portion, and if we do a big, like, how would it impact them is really what I'm asking. If we choose to construct this building, we cannot meet our own infrastructure needs. It's going to use up 100% of our capacity to do anything. Pave roads, fix potholes, fix this building, do the infrastructure building, the water intake, anything, fire trucks, anything. We won't be able to do it. There are no comparable communities. So there's no one that we can look at that's done this successfully and say they've done it successfully that have the same situation we have. Yes, there has been a couple of municipalities that did it successfully, but they went from a municipal police force where they had millions in budget to an OPP police force where they took those savings and put it towards the building. We don't have that situation. We are in an OPP police force. So we don't have those savings. So in closing, yes, staff does absolutely want to see a new detachment be built here, but I strongly feel that the province is the one that needs to build it, not us. So the recommendation is the land contribution. Wawa should consider donating the land, selling the land at a reduced cost, working with the province to help expedite that process so that they can get started in actually building the building. So that's it for me, unless there's any questions. Sorry, I hope I didn't confuse you.
Thank you very much, Manuela. Your report was very detailed and thorough, and I appreciate that. I will open the floor to comments from council. Councillor Hoffman, do you have any questions, comments, thoughts?
Sounds like we don't want to build this thing.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cannon?
I just have a couple of questions. Okay, so if we donate the land, we're still responsible for $350,000 approximately to do the laneway and that. You said for all three.
Sorry, that's my mistake. If we were to donate the land, the biggest thing we would be responsible for is the survey, making sure that what we're giving them or selling them, whichever route we decide to go, is that absolutely marked out and clear as to where the boundaries are. The rest can be negotiated. So if they want us to put in a road, we can definitely say, sure, we'll put in a road, but we'll negotiate a price. But we don't have an obligation to do it.
Okay, also say that there's wages and everything involved, but when we did the presentation, they said if we built just the building, they would take over the rest. They have their own people to do maintenance and everything. And that's what they said at the presentation. And also when we went to Marathon, the same thing, when we met with them, they said that they have their own people to do.
So Marathon is a provincially owned detachment, and they do have their own people because they're provincially owned, not municipally owned.
But in
I have emails that I welcome you to come and see the emails. I'll happily share them with you, go over them with you, where I've confirmed with them it is our responsibility.
So we would be responsible for everything.
Yes.
They wouldn't even come in and do the inside of the building, like. That's not what I remember from the presentation, but
it would be such a minimal amount that it wouldn't make a difference.
Well, you say in wages, it's $126,000.
105.
105. I mean, that's not minimal. I mean, I'm not saying that I agree with going in the hole for something like that. I want to see all the numbers, like
even at 105, the operating expenses are 245,000. The loss is 919. So even if you removed all of the operating costs, we would still be at a loss.
Councillor Hatfield, do you have any questions or comments?
I'm really disappointed. I thought we could at least give them the land and just purchase the outside. Like, that's what I understood. Yeah,
I think we.
but not the inside. The inside, they do it. That's what I understood too.
That's the option 2, the base building.
The base.
And that was in scenario 1, a net loss of 919,000 if we paid back over 10 years, and in scenario 2, 484,000
Yeah,
over 20 years. So
but
it's
I didn't think it was going to be that bad because the province pays 85%. The province doesn't pay 85.
they do, but it's on a $20 million building, and they don't pay. They pay 85% of the operating costs, but they pay 0% of the interest. Trust me, I tried to get them to go on the interest. 0% of
Well,
the,
then that's
they don't consider the interest operating costs. Operating costs are maintenance, water and sewer, property taxes. That's it.
well, that's not a very good way of presenting something, is it, from the province? I mean, I understood that much differently than what you just told us today. I thought, well, at least we could get the building up and the land, and then they could finish it off and we could afford it. Then we'd make a good dollar. But it's not like that at all. That's thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Manuela, as always, I had all kinds of questions, but they all funneled down to one kind of summary thought of the municipality really does have a responsibility to act fiscally responsible. And after reading your report in its entirety, my question was, do you believe that option 2 or option 3 is a fiscally responsible choice? I have an answer, but in my mind, but I'm looking for your answer.
Absolutely not. And there are so many other questions that I didn't even include in the report. So like one of the recommendations, one of the must-dos is that we build a facility that's LEED silver. Becca can speak to that. If you're not familiar with what that is, it's an environmentally friendly component to how you build. So the very base is called a certification. Bronze is the next level up. LEED is the third. And at that point, you're using recycled material to build the building. You're doing things that are contrary to what nature will do in Northern Ontario. Where are we going to get recycled building material in Northern Ontario? We'd have to ship it from the south. Like even that cost is so much more than their small contingency fee for Northern Ontario. So there's so many, and then how do you maintain that? We don't have certified people here to maintain that.
So I think
the answer is definitely no. And even donate land for me is not an option. I think land sold at a reduced rate, a little bit below fair market value, is much more fair to our taxpayers. We ask a lot of our taxpayers. You'll see that in the upcoming budget. We need to, you're right, we need to 100% be fiscally responsible. So yes, I think it's good to support our OPP and give them a bit of a reduced rate on the land, but we need to charge them something for that land. It shouldn't be for free.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much. So I will pose the question to council now as we prepare to put together, as we prepare to give staff direction to prepare a resolution for an upcoming meeting. I think based on the conversation at the council table, can I summarize that option 2 and 3 are off the table? Seeing nodding heads, option 2 and 3 are off the table. The option 1, we've got 2 different scenarios. We can decide to donate land or offer to purchase at a reduced rate and direct staff to enter into negotiations with the province. There's 2 options there. Maybe we can do this by show of hands. Who wants to donate the land? I'm seeing none. Who wants to direct staff to enter into negotiations with the province at a reduced rate? Councillor Hoffman.
What cost is it going to be to the taxpayers?
Without calculating tonight what the return on the sale would be in terms of potential tax revenue, it is recommended from others that we've spoke to that, ideally to support our local Superior East detachment and getting the facility built, that we sell for cost. So the impact would be zero to taxpayers. Now, at this time, I would look to recommend to Mayor and Council that a resolution on the November 21st meeting move forward. So we can advise the Infrastructure Ontario and the Facilities Division of the OPP that Council wants to provide the land, move forward, and we say in some effect at cost. We can work out what that cost is, as the Mayor is suggesting. We'll enter into negotiations. There's no cost to the taxpayers and no cost to the municipality to provide the land at cost. That cost will depend on, does the province prefer we provide the land clear of vegetation? There's trees on the land. Do they want us to clear it? Then we'll clear it, but we'll charge you on the sale price. Do they want, we have to do a survey. Regardless, we have to do a boundary survey. It's not surveyed. So we would sell it at that cost. So my recommendation tonight, if this answers your question, is a resolution put forward on the 21st that staff will craft, that will say to provide this location, this piece of land to the local OPP detachment for the purposes of a new detachment to be sold at cost, a price to be determined later. And then we would come forward in the future once that price is determined exactly, because we would need a bylaw of council at that time. So just so council knows, a resolution is needed, and needed the sooner the better to initiate the process, because as soon as council indicates the piece of land, it has to go through a risk assessment with the OPP. They have to look at the land to see whether the land meets all their criteria as well. So at least that'll initiate the process. So I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
So it absolutely does answer our question. And I think it helps to absolutely to inform staff that I believe, and please offer any objections, that I think council is looking for staff to enter into negotiations with the province on a cost recovery basis. Thank you very much. We will now move on to item 8.7, Mutual Assistance Agreement for the Township of Horn-Payne. Maury, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. For council's information, tonight on tonight's regular agenda, we have a bylaw that proposes to enter into an agreement with Horn-Payne. Basically, that agreement, council's already passed one very similar, same wording with the Township of Dubreuilville. And so Horn-Payne's following suit and asking the municipality that in the event of an emergency and they are not able to operate their emergency control center or have a place where they are able to operate out of in an emergency, that we have a mutual agreement where if they need to call on Wawa for support and we are able at the time of the call to provide that support, we will. And we will support them at no cost, and vice versa. If ever we needed to find an operational center and support in an emergency, we can call on Horn-Payne. So this is very similar to the mutual aid agreements we have with the fire department and other partners, and the one we have with Dubreuilville. Horn-Payne is entering into this, and then there'll be one coming forward as well from White River. So don't anticipate that there'll be any cost to the municipality. It's more of a mutual agreement where I think there was a lot of learning done because of the forest fire around White River. All communities are bringing this up in priority to make sure that they they have systems in place and they are prepared and plan in emergencies if their communities, for whatever reason, get evacuated. So I'm recommending to council, and it's on the regular agenda tonight, to enter into a bylaw.
Thank you very much, Maury. Is there any questions? Councillor Hatfield?
What does, on your paper that you gave us to read, it says, I have authority to bind the corporation. What does that mean?
It's legalese. It's legal language under our bylaws of the municipality. At this current time, only the mayor and myself have the legal authority to bind the corporation to a contract. So our bylaws say it must be 2 signatures, whether it be the mayor or deputy mayor in the absence of the mayor, or the clerk, or in my absence, deputy clerk. So there's some backup, but we are the only ones, when we sign a contract, it's legally binding. If anyone else signed, then that contract's not legally binding.
Thank you very much, Maury. Councillor Hoffman, Councillor Kennan, are there any questions regarding this? Excellent. Thank you very much. There is no in-camera session nor return to open session, no business arising from closed session. So we will move on to next meeting date, Tuesday, November 21st, 2023, and we will move to adjourn. Close of meeting, 7:56 p.m. May I have somebody move? Councillor Hoffman? May I have a seconder? Councillor Kim? All in favor? Carried. Yes. We'll take a 5-minute recess.
There we go. It seems to be good now.
No.
Oh, it's Kevin.
You tell us? I don't know why I can't even log in here. Let me put it on. Oh, there we go.
Picking up sunset.
Okay, we're working now, Mayor. Apologies to council, and we are now working.
Perfect. So we will maybe back up a little bit, and maybe we can go back to the correspondence. And we will note that there are various items of correspondence on the agenda, and I will ask you to make reference to 7.1 in Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund.
Thank you, Mayor. Under correspondence, item 7.1, Ministry of Finance. The municipality was notified that its share of the 2024 Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund, which is an unconditional grant provided to Ontario municipalities, was reduced approximately $50,000. The grant has been reduced steadily since I joined the municipality in 2019, so $50,000 every year. I think it's important for council to keep in mind that that $50,000 equates to a 1% increase in the levy, so we're not enjoying as much revenue from the Ontario government, and the forecast is that it will continue to reduce. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to the consent agenda.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, second by Councillor Cannon, resolved that the items listed under the consent agenda, 8.2 to 8.6, be approved as recommended.
All in favor? Carried. Number 9, staff reports / memos. 9.1.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, second by Councillor Cannon, resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby receive the following staff reports memos, a copy of which is attached here too. A, CAO memo, Community Improvement Plan. B, AP memo, Valley Park Bridge Replacement. C, MB 2023-24 third quarter financial report. D, RW memo, Electric Transit Initiative update. E, AG memo, Voyage Alert Notification System. F, CAO memo, Volunteer Firefighter Training and Travel Policy. And G, MB 2023-25 Ontario Provincial Police New Detachment.
All in favor? Carried. There is no business arising out of previous meetings, so we will move on to item number 11, new business. 11.1, fire underwriter survey.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, second by Councillor Hoffman. Whereas Canada has 90,000 volunteer firefighters who provide fire and all hazard emergency services to their communities. In addition, approximately 8,000 essential search and rescue volunteers respond to thousands of incidents every year. And whereas many of these individuals receive some form of pay on call, an honorarium, or are given some funding to cover expenses, but they do not draw a living wage from firefighting. And whereas without volunteer firefighters and search and rescue volunteers, thousands of communities in Canada would have no fire and emergency response coverage. And whereas in 2013, the federal government initiated a tax credit recognizing these individuals and calling on the federal government to increase this tax credit from $3,000 to $10,000. And whereas the volunteer firefighters account for 71% of Canada's total firefighting essential first responders, and the Tax Code of Canada currently allows volunteer firefighters and search and rescue volunteers to claim $3,000 a year tax credit if 200 hours of volunteer service are completed in a calendar year.
This works out to a mere $450 per year, which will allow these essential volunteers to keep of their own income from their regular jobs, $2.25 an hour. If they volunteer more than 200 hours, which many do, this tax credit becomes even less. These essential volunteers not only put their lives on the line and give their time, training, and efforts to Canadians, but they also allow cities and municipalities to keep property taxes lower than if a paid service were required. It would also help retain these volunteers in a time when volunteerism is decreasing. Now therefore be resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa calls on the Government of Canada to support Bill C-310 and enact amendments to subsection 118.062 and 118.072 of the Income Tax Act in order to increase the amount of tax credits for volunteer firefighters and search and rescue volunteer services from $3,000 to $10,000 a year. And furthermore, that a copy of this resolution be shared with the Association of Fire Chiefs of Ontario, Algoma Mutual Aid Association, Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and all Ontario municipalities.
All in favor? Carried. Item 11.2, approve and endorse the pledge for the Wawa Housing Plan.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Hatfield. Whereas Mayor and Council of the Corporation of Municipality Wawa are committed to facilitate and support the development of new housing in the community for all residents, and whereas the municipality will make every effort to ensure the municipal process to approve development and housing plans is expedited, and will make surplus municipal lands available for building of new housing. And whereas, as contained in the Wawa Housing Action Plan 2023, the municipality of Wawa will leverage all opportunities and available policy tools as it works to encourage the building of new residential units in Wawa. And whereas the municipality of Wawa will use a variety of strategies and actions to increase the supply of affordable housing set out and contained in the Wawa Housing Action Plan. Whereas Municipal Council recognizes the provision of housing for all residents is a priority of all levels of government, and there is an ongoing need for the province of Ontario and the Government of Canada to invest in our communities to ensure housing is built that is affordable and meets local needs. Excuse me. And whereas the municipality of Wawa will implement strategies to encourage and promote intensification to enable and expedite additional residential units in existing residential areas, as set out in the Wawa Housing Action Plan. Therefore, be resolved that Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby recognize that there is a strong necessity for new housing to be built to accommodate local need and demand, and for new housing options to be built that are affordable to residents. And furthermore, that through the Wawa Housing Pledge, the municipality of Wawa commits to undertake the initiatives outlined and contained in the Wawa Housing Action Plan by working with stakeholders and governments at all levels to deliver the housing, infrastructure, and services needed for current and future residents. And furthermore, Council of the Corporation of Municipality Wawa adopts the 2023 Wawa Housing Action Plan and the Wawa Housing Pledge. And furthermore, a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Mr. Paul Calendra.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Carried. 11.3, letter for support for MPP Dean Brookline.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, seconded by Councillor Hoffman. Whereas Mr. Guy Bourgeon, MPP Mushkegowuk, James Bay, has requested support for his private member's bill that would make it completely illegal for a vehicle to pass on the left side of the lane when it is marked with 2 solid yellow lines, and whereas creating a law that will prevent vehicles, including heavy trucks, from passing or attempting to pass on the left when the left lane is in the opposite direction. And it is currently a recommendation of the province, but not prohibited by law, nor a penalty for drivers who perform this dangerous maneuver applied, which would make highways safer in Northern Ontario. Now, therefore, the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa indicates its support of Guy Bourgeon, MPP Mushkegowuk, James Bay, help me? Mushkegowuk. Thank you. James Bay Private Members Bill to make it illegal for a vehicle to pass on a highway marked with 2 solid yellow lines. And furthermore, that a copy of the resolution be shared with Mr. Guy Bourgeois, MVP of Mishawaka.
You're getting worse, but please continue.
James Bay, the Minister of Transportation, Pablo Rodriguez, and Phenom. Excuse me, council, I should have practiced it at time.
All in favor? Carried. There is no notice of motion, so we will proceed to bylaws.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, second by Councillor Cannon, resolved that the following bylaws be introduced and read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. Bylaw number 3641-23, to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on the 7th day of November 2023. Bylaw number 3642-23, to enter into a data sharing and services agreement, DSSA, with the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation. Bylaw number 3643-23, to enter into a permanent public transit program, Rural Transportation Solutions Fund Agreement with the Minister of Infrastructure and Communities, Canada, for the purchase of an accessible electric vehicle and charging station. Bylaw number 3644-23, to authorize the municipality of Wawa to purchase land located at 96 Broadway Avenue, the parking lot, from Wawa Electric and Hardware. Bylaw number 3645-23, to amend municipality of Wawa bylaw number 3555-23, and to appoint an alternate community emergency management coordinator for the municipality of Wawa pursuant to the standards established by Regulation 380-04 under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act as amended.
All in favor? Carried. We will now move into closed session, 14.1.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, second by Councillor Hoffman, resolved that this committee proceed in camera at 8:18 p.m. in order to address the following matters pertaining to item 1, a legal issue. It's an application under section 357 of the Municipal Act, and it's related to section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act, and it's a personal matter about an identifiable individual. Number 2, it's a legal issue. There's one item. It has to do with land. It's a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality under section 2392C of the Municipal Act. And the third item is a legal issue regarding outstanding property taxes in the municipality, and it's related to section 2392B of the Municipal Act, personal matter about identifiable individuals, including municipal and local board employees.
All in favor? Carried. We'll now take a few minutes to go into closed session. We're all ready for it. Let me know when you're ready.
Ready?
Perfect. Sorry. We will return to open session at 8:39 p.m.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, second by Councillor Hoffman, resolved that council resume to the open meeting session at 8:39 p.m.
Item number 16, dismiss or rise into closed session. 16.1, accept staff recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Hatfield, resolved that the council of the corporation of the municipality of Wawa does hereby accept staff recommendation as contained in report ICMB 2023-23, applications made under section 357, and approve the applications made for reduction, cancellation, or refund of taxes in accordance with section 357 of the Municipal Act as amended, and as per the corresponding impact response for the properties listed below. Roll number 5776-00005-124-000000 for the period from June 30th, 2023 to December 31st, 2022. Roll number 5776-00005-091000000 from the period from November 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. Roll number 5776-00005-091000000 for the period from December 21st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. Roll number 5776-000-003-05101-0000 from the period January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023. Roll number 5776-000-003-27301-0000 from the period from December 21st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. Roll number 5776-000-003-27301-0000 for the period from January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023.
Bravo. All in favor? Carried. The next meeting date is Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. And we will finally move to adjournment, 18.1, close of meeting.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Hoffman, resolved that the meeting closed at 8:42 p.m.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you, everybody, for your hard work this evening. Have a good night and stay safe out there.
Thank you.